I am so glad you're here. We are going to get started in just a few seconds. And today we're talking about all things blocking someone on LinkedIn and what you need to know. And I'm just going to take a moment to make sure you can hear me and make sure that the sound's okay. Just a few seconds. And today we're talking about all things blocking someone on LinkedIn. LinkedIn app confirmation. So we're good to go. So in this live today, I'm so glad you're here. You know, blocking someone on any channel is not just logical. It can be a bit emotional. And sometimes you might be wondering, well, you know, when do I block someone? You know, are there certain guidelines or best practices? Now, sometimes you're obviously going to know, and other times you may not. And also on LinkedIn, there may be an option you're not familiar with, which is called unfollowing. So in this video, I'm going to show you, first of all, reasons to block someone, specifically talking about LinkedIn, although this does apply to all of the other channels for social media. I want to tell you what your profile looks like once you do block someone. So for example, if you block me and then I try to access your LinkedIn profile and look at it, what do I see? That's one of the top questions that comes up with this. I'm also going to tell you about Google. Google search, to be more specific, does come into play when you're blocking someone on LinkedIn. And I want to tell you a little bit about that and what you can do. And then the last thing we'll get into is unfollow and what happens when you unfollow someone on LinkedIn. And then if you stick around to the end, I'm going to share with you a LinkedIn Live event that is coming up in early October. Okay, reasons to block someone. You know, the obvious reasons are anything that's dangerous or super sketchy that could put you in physical harm, legal harm, anything along those lines. That would be the first. We absolutely know we need to block someone. Now, beyond that, you might block someone because what they share on LinkedIn, you believe or you feel that it is toxic, that it is something that you do not want to see. They may have a very like a viewpoint or a mindset that is too much for you. Like it's just kind of like that energy that you don't want to be around. Or if you're at a party with 20 people, it would be the person in the room that you're thinking, yeah, I'm not talking to that person. I'm going to stay over here and talk with these people, right? So that could be going on. They might just be plain annoying with what they share or how they act or how they behave on LinkedIn. And one of the things we can't get away from on any network is spamminess. If someone is spammy, so for example, if someone sends you a connection request on LinkedIn, you say yes, then you can both send messages to each other, direct messages behind the scenes, and it's like a two-way street of communication. But if you've been on LinkedIn for more than 5 minutes, you know that sometimes when you say yes to a connection request, they bombard you with 5 or 6 paragraphs telling you how they can help you. And it's all usually me language. You know, my business was founded in, and we've been helping countless blah, blah, blahs like you. And in fact, you know, here's a case study and da, 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 da. And we get into those kind of topics, how to be more organic, how to make it authentic, actually in the LinkedIn Live event we're doing and in some other trainings. But you know what it's like. You know, the ugly phrase that people use for this is being pitch slapped, because someone has just thrown their big pitch at you and it is like a huge slap in the face. It is crazy annoying. And if you do that, please stop. Okay, the next thing, another reason why you might block someone is because there's some type of conflict of interest. Now, I don't know what that is. It could be, it might be someone, maybe you co-founded a company years ago with someone and now you're not affiliated with it. You know, there could be anything from past relationships, whether business relationships, personal relationships. There might just be some type of conflict of interest that you know that it would be smarter for you to block the person. This could, like I said, this could be someone from your past, your present. This could actually be your haters. If you have anyone on LinkedIn or other channels who, troll you, who write hateful comments, who basically don't have a life, you can block those people on LinkedIn. Now, finally, which we'll get into a little bit more later, is let's just say you're connected with someone and you like them, it's all fine, but the content they're sharing is not content that is helpful for you. So if I were connected on LinkedIn with my mechanic, I probably wouldn't want to see any of his content. If it's, videos about how to fix this, how to replace that, that's really not interesting to me. And it's not, helping me with my goals. And also it's not something connected to my audience that I would be wanting to share with them. So that's where unfollow comes into play, which we'll talk about later. Okay, mis amigos, my friends, now let's talk about how do you block someone on LinkedIn? Actually, this is a very, very simple process. You do have to start on the person's profile. So let's say Bill, you want to block Bill. On LinkedIn, you can use your app on your smartphone, or you can use desktop. What you'll do is you'll go to Bill's profile. Now, you'll see the usual stuff. You'll see his headshot, his professional headline. You'll see his banner, all those things like that. And to the left at the bottom, you'll see message if you're currently connected with him. And then right to the right of that, you'll see a button that says more. And you want to click on more. Now, when you do click on more, it's going to open up this little drop down of different menus. And it's going to ask you, it's going to show you the options that you can do. So for example, you can share the profile in a message. You can save the profile to a PDF. You can give kudos. I really don't know who uses the word kudos anymore, but that's okay. You can give kudos. You can request a recommendation if you've worked together. You can also recommend, so writing a testimonial or recommendation for Bill. Following is also an option, and that's where the unfollow option comes into play. And then you have remove connection, and then you have block. Now, if you remove the connection, let's say I'm going to remove Bill as a connection, what happens? This just means that when we're connected, we are called first connections. And when I disconnect from Bill, it's basically he is now a second connection. That most likely he will be a second connection because you have mutual connections in common. He might be a third connection. Most of the time, it's going to be a second connection. So what this means is you and Bill can both see each other's profiles, but you're not connected. And that's it. He can go to your profile, he can see your content, and vice versa. The connection is simply not there. Now, if we move on down, that is where you'll see the final button under more, and it is report/block. Now, report will walk you through, like, why are you reporting this profile? Maybe you think they're impersonating someone. Maybe it's a fake profile, those types of things. But have no fear. You will click on report block. Nothing's going to happen until you get to the next section, and LinkedIn is going to ask you, what do you want to do? And then from that point, there's about 4 or 5 different options, and the final option, unless something changes tomorrow, is you can block Bill. You can block the profile. I have Bill Murray going through my mind right now. I would never block him personally, but I think Bill was probably not the best name to use. So if you block Bill, what happens? Let's say Bill is searching for your profile and he tries to access your profile. Or for example, let's say he is on your website and he clicks your LinkedIn icon, and Bill, you would think, would land on your profile. So what really happens? What does he see? All that Bill is going to see is it's going to say a simple message like this profile is unavailable or profile unavailable. And that is it. He doesn't see anything more. That is literally it, period. So this is one of the things that I'm really grateful for, because LinkedIn does this really well. Now, most people are not going to be savvy enough to think, oh, did this person block me? They might think it's a glitch, or they might think, well, whatever, maybe he's not using LinkedIn, maybe she's not on LinkedIn, or something. They're just going to have I would say 80% of the people are just going to have a thought and be like, well, whatever, or the dog's going to bark or someone's going to knock at the door, and then they're off to the races with their life. Now, for those savvy people, or you, if you're perhaps a little nosy and wondering if you've been blocked, some people might go to the extent of creating a new LinkedIn profile, which is really overkill. They might possibly have someone in their office or a colleague say, hey, can you get on your app and look, can we look up this profile together? And because if suddenly your profile shows on their friend's app, well, obviously they're going to know that you have in fact blocked them. Now, hopefully they will know you've blocked them, and then they will move on with their life. Next thing, when you block someone, they are not notified. Now, some of you might be worried about how when you go to someone's profile, LinkedIn, to a small extent for free plans, and then to a bigger extent for premium plans, LinkedIn will show who has viewed your profile. When did they view it? And it gives basically a list, a framework of who's visited the profile. So if I visit Bill's profile to block him, he is not going to see that. LinkedIn just sort of makes that disappear. So even if Bill has a premium plan, he's not going to see that you viewed his profile, and then suddenly he clicks to your profile and it's unavailable. So that's another great thing that LinkedIn does there. And also, crazy enough, you can block up to 1,400 people. Also, let's say it's not a first connection. A first connection means you are connected. LinkedIn also uses the term second connection, third connection. A second connection you can think of as a connection. A second connection you can think of as you have a mutual connection, one or more mutual connections in common. So you're just 1 degree away from that person, right? And then third connection, that means that person is on LinkedIn, but you have 0 mutual connections in common. So that's first, second, third. Now with blocking, you can actually block a second connection or a third connection along with the first connection, of course. So you can block across the board. Now, how does this come into play? Well, for me, here's an example. There is one marketer. He drives me crazy, you all. Oh, I just don't want to see his content. I don't want to hear from him. I don't want to see his face, la, 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 la. And it's nothing against him, but it's simply that I don't like his style. I don't like, to me, he comes across too pushy and annoying and all those things. So some of this can be just a personal preference. You're going to be attracted to certain people and others not so much. So like in my field, in social media marketing, LinkedIn, lead generation, all that sort of thing, there are a few marketers, especially just in general social media marketing, that I choose to block because if a connection shares their content, I simply don't want to see it. And that's that. Okay, let's go on down to what else we have. In your settings, another good move for you to do is to check one section that's called visibility of your profile and network. So for example, in that, LinkedIn asks you the question, should we show information from your profile to users of permitted services such as Microsoft Outlook? And for that, you can say yes, or you can say no. So it's super smart across the board to just simply review all of your background settings as related to visibility. And then finally, let's talk about Google search, which we cannot rule out. So I have blocked Bill, but Bill can still Google me. So if Bill Googles me, there's a chance that my LinkedIn profile, the link, will come up in Google search. Now, of course, we already know if Bill clicks it, it's going to go over and it's going to say profile unavailable, and that's that. And the other example is if Bill went to my website, he clicked the LinkedIn icon, same thing, he will land there and it will say profile unavailable. So you just want to be mindful of this, and depending on the intensity of who you're blocking and everything like that, it would really be a good idea for you to use your browser and use incognito mode and then do a search for yourself. And now you might have to put your name and what you do, so your name, business coach, something along those lines, or the name of your company, to see if you're going to come up as a LinkedIn profile as well. Ideally, it's going to pull in your website, maybe some other channel, YouTube, something like that. But it is very, very good for you to know simply how you're showing up in Google search. And like I said, you do want to run that in incognito, or I think the other word is like your, I think there's another word for this and I can't remember. But something just where it's not pulling from any of the data. Some of the browsers have a different name besides incognito mode. So just sort that out and look on Google. And then finally, we're coming into the last part of our time together. Unfollow. Unfollow is a great option. So as the example I had earlier, I was talking about my mechanic. If we're connected on LinkedIn, but I don't want to see his content, I can click unfollow. And that simply means LinkedIn will show me 0% of his content. So that's a great way if you want to be connected, but you don't want to see their content. And actually, that wraps up our video together. So I've given you some reasons to block people. You know what your profile on LinkedIn looks like when someone you've blocked comes over to your LinkedIn profile. You know that you need to run a Google search, see how you come up, and then you know that you do have the option of unfollowing someone, which is, I think, frequently used. Now, let me transition to the end of this. I am partnering with a company for a LinkedIn Live event on October 13th, and it focuses on LinkedIn lead generation. Now, if you're like me, I actually hate the word LinkedIn, I hate the word lead generation. And so what we're going to talk about, even though that's the word for it, what we're going to talk about is how do you use LinkedIn in a very organic and authentic way, and also in a way that is permission-based. Those core components, how do you use LinkedIn to really create business relationships, to have sales calls, to gain new clients? And with Hillary Torn of IntroWise, we're going to go through all of that together. I'm going to show you some very ridiculously simple techniques that not a lot of people talk about. And you're going to see literally after our live event together, our training together, you're going to be able to hop on LinkedIn and put these strategies in action immediately. Super fast, super simple. And if you have an assistant, a virtual assistant, you can actually show them how to do parts of it, as long as that feels good to you outsourcing it. Nothing we're going to talk about on the training is going to be about bots or automation or basically scraping LinkedIn's system. None of that. It's very conversation-based, permission-based, organic, and authentic. So if that is the peanut butter to your jelly, my friend, we would love to have you on that event. It's coming up October 13th. If you haven't heard of the company IntroWise yet, if you are an expert, a speaker, consultant, then you definitely need to check out the company. I'll put the link below so you can join us in the LinkedIn Live event. And just so you know, it is only happening in LinkedIn and only within the event. It's not being sent out on other channels like this video today. So 19 minutes. Now you know everything there is to know, almost, about blocking people. If you do have questions about this topic, feel free to send me a DM, leave a comment below. And other than that, that is the end. Eric Z. Johnson here. I'm so grateful that you joined me today or whenever you joined me, and I will see you around. Thank you so much.